Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I really just wanted to go over maximum and minimums for your supports in terms of their buffing potentials on getting stats for them for their drive disc, because I think a lot of people are confused about that nowadays, and it's not as big of a deal as a lot of people want to make it out, and sometimes you can actually be hurting yourself in the long run. So I recorded this quick video on stream just to explain what I mean. And also, normally there is stream chat on my videos. I'm an idiot. I had to turn them off quickly to give an example for something, and I forgot to turn stream chat back on in the middle of this video. So, like, partway through this video, stream chat's gonna disappear, and I apologize for that for people who like to read it. Other than that, let's get right to the video.
Welcome to my channel. My name is Kate the Seventh, and I'll be your host today.
Okay, so today, I was in the middle of doing account reviews slash surgeries, the usual help for people with their end game on stream, and someone asked in chat, what was Sana's attack requirement to get the max buff for her, right? And if we come over here and look at it, it is 3,500. Well, then there was a lot of people in my chat who were then like, "Oh, that's crazy! Like, can't run ER6 now. Can't do this. Can't do that. Like, oh, that needs a lot of attack rolls if you don't get her signature engine." It's like, no. That's when I realized I need to make this video, because there is a huge difference between minimums and maximums.
Patch 2.5 has finally launched, and it's looking to be a good one. As with this release, we have finally received a new Void Hunter, and alongside her, the developers have decided to give us a free Labubu. And if you are someone who happened to miss out on one of these characters' reruns, you will finally have a chance to get them in the second half. But because of 2.4 releasing a meta-defining unit in Dylan, there's a chance that your polychromes are looking oof. But don't worry, I got you back. Because with lootbar.gg, you can be saving big today. As if you were to click on my exclusive link in the description below, new users can save 23% today. And all purchases will be at a discounted rate. And all you have to do is enter your UID and region, click on the bundle that you would like, and within seconds, you will receive your purchase. And yes, this does work for the spending event. But also, this doesn't just have to be ZZZ. No. As it could be any of your favorite mobile games, such as Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves, or Honkai Star Rail. So please do yourself a favor and let Lootbar save you money today. But with that out the way, let's get you back to the video.
You do not have to hit maximums for your characters to perform well. And what do I mean by this? Good example is Astra. Astra's max attack buff, I'm on my friend's Penguins account, by the way, but Astra's max attack buff is 3,429, right? That's a maximum. But if you are having to use an attack slot 6 on your Astra to make that maximum happen, you're actually probably going to get worse results in practice than an ER6. You might lose between 200 to 250 attack, but your attack buff is still going to be strong, and you're going to have more ER on your Astra, which A, allows her to keep up Astral Voice more if you have Astral on her. I prefer to use Moonlight, but if you do have Astral on her, it's easier to keep up the stacks. B, it also allows her to let you use her quick assist more, and it's also just a comfier experience for your team rotation, especially stuns, right? So you got to know the difference between maximums and minimums. Where's another character that's like that? Where's Jufufu? A lot of people will think you need to hit 3,400 attack on Jufufu, otherwise you don't get the max buff. That is just not simply true. My good buddy Jay Stern, when Fufu first came out, he showed a list that he compiled on his theory crafting. And Jufufu not having the max attack buff versus having an impact slot 6 and having a little bit less than the max attack buff can actually perform better. And why is this? Right? Okay, so here. Let's say this was the Fufu, right? 3200 attack. We need to increase the crit rate a little bit. Does he have better pieces? There. 3100 attack. We got the crit rate, right? We got the crit rate, 3100 attack, and it's an impact slot 6. This Fufu... No, it's an attack slot 6. This Fufu is going to do slightly worse than a Fufu if you can get impact slot 6 while still hitting the 50 crit rate, because we could lower our crit rate here to 50, right? We can lower it, so we can lose 11% crit rate. So we can lose 4 rolls of crit rate to then get more attack percent rolls to run an impact slot 6. We still would not have the max attack buff, but we would have impact slot 6, and that could let you get an extra stun in the fight with your Jafufu. Because if you're only doing 3 stuns with your Fufu with the max attack buff versus a Fufu that's doing 4 stuns but has slightly less attack, the 4 stuns is going to win every single time. Does that make sense, chat? The 4 stuns is going to win every single time because it's an entire extra stun window. And the damage you gain just from getting a stun window is massive. So when it comes to attack minimum and maximums, you got to know the difference, right? You don't have to max out your attack buff every single time. I'm not saying you shouldn't try. You should absolutely try. But if it's going to hurt your rotation, or if it's going to, in this case with Fufu, give you a less stuns, it's not worth it. Right? You're actually hurting yourself trying to hit that max attack buff if it's going to make you get 1 less stun in a deadly assault fight, right? And it's the same thing with Astra. If you have to use an ER slot 6, no, my bad. If you have to use an attack slot 6 instead of an ER slot 6, it might actually make the rotation a lot less clunky, and you might accidentally lose the attack buff on Astra. And that might sound crazy to some people, because it's like, wait, how do you lose the attack buff on Astra on your DPS? Bro, I can't tell you how many people have sent me in clips of them playing Astra. And here, we can actually go here and show what I mean. Here, let me just do a random... Okay, so each one has the attack buff right now. You see that circle underneath her? That's how you know she has the attack buff. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people think that Astra's attack buff is infinite. And I know a lot of you in my chat might be thinking, no, that's crazy. There's no way people think that. Trust me, I've seen it with my own eyes. A lot of people think that Astra's attack buff is just infinite, and it just doesn't go away. So when people will send me in clips to review of them, they will straight up just lose the attack buff on Astra, and they don't even realize it. Like, they'll start stun, and their Astra's attack buff just completely fell off. And they just do the stun window. They're not paying attention to it at all. And every single time they showed me their Astra, she does not have energy regen 6. It's significantly easier to lose the attack buff on Astra if you're not using ER6. So that's what I mean, like, them trying to max out the attack buff ended up making their performance worse because they weren't paying attention to their Astra buff timing, and they ended up losing it for their stun windows, and it reduced their score significantly. So sacrificing a tiny bit attack to make your rotation smoother and easier is actually going to increase most people's performance. You cannot treat that max attack buff on these characters as a mandatory thing. Now, once again, you should absolutely try. If you can get the max attack buff without screwing over having to use ER slot 6 on Astra and also Sana coming up, then you should try and do that. But if you can't, I'm telling you, you will have a much easier time, especially if you're casual. Just run the ER slot 6 on Astra and sacrifice a little bit of attack, and it will just make your life so much easier. It's a maximum, not a minimum. Another difference, for example, is Xiao with her HP. If you are able to maintain astral voice stacks with triple HP on Xiao, you should just keep triple HP. But if you were someone who is struggling to maintain astral voice stacks on your Xiao with triple HP, put on ER slot 6. Yes, you will lose a little bit of HP and you might not have the max HP you need for the max buff anymore. But if it makes your rotation easier, if it makes your rotation simpler, if it makes your life easier, it is worth it. It is 100% worth it. And when it comes to drive set now, drive sets are different, like King of the Summit. There is no maximum or minimum on King of the Summit. You have to have 50 crit rate. No, you actually have to. So this does not apply to drive sets. You have to have 50 crit rate. That's not a maximum or minimum. You have to. So that's different. I would say for Yuzuha, because her attack buff requirement is only 3,000, I would say that I think everyone should. Oh, he doesn't have the right pieces on. He's probably sharing. Or maybe it's this. But I would say for Yuzu, since her attack requirement is only 3k, that's actually very easy to hit, even if you don't have a S-rank engine. That's actually a lot easier to hit than Astra and Sana's. So I would say for Yuzu, go ahead and go for the 3,000 no matter what. But let's go back to Sana real quick. So with Sana, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to run triple attack, especially if you do not have her signature engine. And I'm going to tell you right now, that might be a mistake. Yes, she wants 3,500 for the max buff. But if you are having to sacrifice ER6 for that max buff, it might make your gameplay experience worse. Because it might be harder to make sure that she has stuff lined up when you need it to line up. And when you have the energy when you need to have the energy, right? If you're not going for her signature engine, just do your best to get as many attack percent and flat attack rolls as possible. But I would still encourage that you probably go ahead and still run ER slot 6 on Sana. That's my honest opinion, and that's how this conversation started to begin with. Are there any questions before we move on from this topic? How is that not a min for King of the Summit? Well, is it like there is no max or min? Like that's just like you gotta have that, or like you're completely screwing yourself with King of the Summit. Since there is like no benefit really of getting more than 50 crit rate on King of the Summit, you should just get it. Otherwise, you're not gonna have the buff, right? There's the difference between 48 crit rate and 50 crit rate on King of the Summit is massive. So you just get it. Like you get it or you're fucked. That's different than Astra's attack buff. Looking back at this, I guess it is fair to say that it's a minimum. Like it's a minimum you need to hit 50 crit rate on King of the Summit. Looking back at this and like listening to it, but I originally said it's not really a max or a min because you have to get this no matter what. Like it's different than Astrial's attack buff or Sana's attack buff. Like you could have a little bit less attack than the max and be perfectly fine for clearing in-game content and still be comfortable. But for a drive set like King of the Summit, if you don't have 50 crit rate, you're kind of fucking yourself. So yeah, but I guess it is fair to say it is technically a minimum, right? You said you have Hellfire on Fufu. Is it better to have I need to change his Fufu while we're talking about it. You say, but is it better to have Impact Slot 6 on Fufu? Are you still able to get 4 stuns? If you're not able to get 4 stuns, then yeah, I would say Impact Slot 6. You gotta think about it. Are you sacrificing a full stun window, putting a tap percent slot 6 on your Fufu? If you can still hit the number of stuns you need to with the tap slot 6, then it's fine. But if you can't, then you need to put Impact Slot 6. I need to put his stuff back on. Is Bashful usable on Sana? Kaboom's way better on Sana if you don't have her signature. But yes, when it comes to a drive set, like the minimum is 50 crit rate. You have to hit that. Like there is no, unlike attack buffs, When it comes to a drive set like King of the Summit, you have to hit this, otherwise you're fucked. But when it comes to attack buff like Fufu, as long as you have the 50 crit rate for King of the Summit, and you can sacrifice a little bit of attack if you need to make sure you're hitting the minimum number of stuns you need in Deadly Assault. So that's the difference, right, between a drive set and this and an attack requirement. Is Miyabi a min or a max? As long as you are hitting 80 crit rate or as close to 80 as possible. I say if you have her signature, you should be hitting if you have her signature, you should at minimum be hitting 80 combat crit rate, which would be 68 on this stream, right? If you have 68, that should be your minimum. I think you should get more if you have her signature, but that should at least be the bare minimum. If you don't have her signature, I know, since I've had to help a lot of people's Miyabis, I know it's significantly harder to hit 80 without her sig. My recommendation, if you don't have her sig, try to get between 60 and 70 on this stat screen. That's my recommendation if you don't have her signature. It's very hard to hit the 80% you need if you don't have her sig. It's very hard. But yes, just remember that, chat. Just remember that. And we're chilling. Appreciate you, Penguins. Let me hop on your account again, man. Just to show this, because you have more characters than I do. Yeah, I think that's gonna be it.